Yo, mic check. And thanks everybody for coming through this week. Another glorious time of the Posted Up podcast. This week is going to be a special episode. A thing that's near and dear to my heart is fantasy football. Something that I've been doing for years. Me and a group of friends have been participating, and it's competitive as fuck. A lot of trickery, a lot of people just doing whatever they can to get the trophy because, that's the primary prize. But today I'm going to go ahead and break down what our draft order is going to be and kind of some of my predictions for this week. So, with the first pick in the draft, drum roll, we got our commissioner, Le Petit Porpel, at pick number 1. It's going to be a tough pick right there because the running backs seem to be kind of on a hiatus and, deciding what moves they're going to make. So I think this year is going to be really essential to get a younger back, aka Bijan, or somebody who is still early in their contracts. But we'll see how he plays it. I know he's been anticipating Justin Jefferson, so we'll just kind of have to see how that plays out. Pick number 2, we got Axton Jackson, a participant who has yet to win a trophy, but every year is a new year, so hopefully he can get over the hump. You know what? I think he's probably going to fuck off this pick. Pick number 2 sucks because you got such a long amount of time until your second pick, so you really got to make this one count. Right, and pick number 3, we got I Like It on Top, our defending champ, the only woman who's a participant. So, yeah, she's been able to do really good in the draft and, able to sustain a lot of depth and, just hasn't really missed on the high end picks. And, as I just mentioned, having a lot of depth is essential whenever players go in. Fourth, we got the Tutu train. Another really, really good player, able to really find those diamonds in the rough for those up-and-coming players who really wouldn't suspect. Like, I remember years ago, it was Patrick Mahomes' first season starting, and he was like, yeah, I'm taking Mahomes, he's going to be, like, amazing. And I'm like, bro, get the fuck out of here. Like, he's got a rocket arm, but, it was just kind of a weird transition because Alex Smith had just made the playoffs, and I just didn't see it at the time, but behold, man, dude, like straight killed it that year. So, Tutu Train definitely has some outlandish takes, but as far as doing the due diligence and drafting quality players, always going to hit on that. And after that, we got D-Boom at pick number 5. And last year was a rough year for him. Injuries, trades. We had a pretty good trade on paper initially, but just kind of later in the year, I definitely lost on that one because I depleted my depth to get a higher end player and ended up going from first and out of the playoffs in a matter of 3 weeks. So depth, is going to be something I'll really have to focus on this year. Next, we got Justin Time, who's potentially going to be the champ this year. By the name of it, you can see where I'm going. Justin Jefferson all the way. Like, there isn't really a whole lot of debate on that. Running backs are really hard to come across, but I think if you got a premier receiver who's going to get, a ton of targets every week, I think that's something you want to go with. And I'm essentially in the middle of the draft, so I believe that, I can find, other assets throughout the draft, and, I definitely feel like I'll be able to make it happen. Next, we got the Space Warriors, a newcomer in the league, but a long tenured vet. He's been in the fantasy league game since the early 90s, so without a doubt, he's going to be able to do fine. Was able to get some really good players who were no names last year, so I think with another year under the belt and understanding how the draft process goes, he'll be able to, see a successful season and not check out again. Next, we got the Rangers, who has been a champion before, does really well. Last year didn't go out, essentially how we planned, but every year is a new year. After that, we got the Golden Goose, another participant without a trophy. Last year was looking really, really good, like monster numbers the first few weeks, and then that team just kind of fizzled down with the few trades throughout his players, like Hawkinson going to a new team, which was pretty good, but he had those up and down games where you have, 15 plus a week, and then after that, 2 to 3 targets. So, coaching style and all that kind of plays a big part. Even if you have a great player, the scheme is definitely going to dictate how well they're going to do on that. Next, we got the 2015 Cowboys, who ended up in last place. They should have technically been the last pick in the draft because we need to really start punishing people for playing like shit. But hey, it is what it is. Hopefully the friendly hazing this year ends up being super funny and it's able to be something we can all laugh at. But we'll all have to get on the drawing board as a collective and see how we're going to make that happen. Next, we got the regular Cowboys, which one of our senior representatives of the league has been able to hold a trophy many years ago. As the Cowboys roll, that's how the team is going to roll. So, depending on what Dak does this year, is going to determine this season. So, we shall see. Next, we got the Spartans, champion years prior. Always a solid season. Really competitive rosters every year. Nothing really bad I can say about his team, but yeah, hopefully he learns how to trade more often whenever his team is clearly not going to make the playoffs. So in that case, some of us who are in the playoff runnings can utilize those players and he can potentially build for the next season. And with 13, we got the Infinity Stone years. He's never held the trophy. Hopefully, I'm praying to God he's able to hold it one day because, you don't want this. You don't want this human operating out of anger too much, So hopefully he can make it happen. Last year his draft looked pretty good on paper. Wait, I take that back. He had a lot of picks, during the draft, and the Lamar pick really kind of fucked over his season because on paper it looked like Lamar was going to have a monster year, but unfortunately he got some lingering injuries, and hopefully this year he can draft a much healthier team and not anybody who tore their ACL the day before. All right, and last but not least, we got Amir Zaddy, and new participant. The season before last did really, really well, and he's somebody who definitely can't sleep on. He's going to put out a lot of high-end players who are going to be, I guess kind of hit or miss in the sense where it's like he's going to go receiver dominant. So with anything, they're going to be dependent players. So if they're not getting balls that week, then their points are going to be diminished. But, once they have a good week, I remember he had Devontae Adams and he went for 50 points or something like that. We had one of the highest scoring games of the season last year. Luckily, I was able to get the win, but, definitely somebody you don't want to snooze on. And I guess quickly I'll go over some of the top fantasy projections for this year. We got number 1, and this is by fantasypros.com. Number 1, we got Christian McCaffrey, solid pick, dual threat player, catch it, running, all that stuff. San Fran, they kind of got a few question marks at QB, but regardless, they're going to run the ball, they're going to play smash mouth football, so I think that'll be a really solid pick. Nick Chubb at number 2, consistent as fuck, strong as fuck. The only thing he really can't do, and which he hasn't been tasked with, is catching. But with them emptying a few spots in the backfield, I think they're gonna, try to introduce him into the passing game a lot more, especially with the full off season of Deshaun Watson. Number 3, we got Justin Jefferson, who's going to be my first pick. I just think he's so talented, and he's also in a contract year, so I mean he's going to be playing really, really good football, and I believe the team has full confidence in him. So yeah, I have no problem with getting 18 to 30 points every single week. Number 4, they got a player who I would be super, super, super hesitant to go with, and that's Austin Eckler. He's been very vocal about not being happy about, his production and not being compensated for it. I forget which receiver, but basically he's putting up, number 2 receiver numbers as far as the passing catches, and he's being paid damn near a kicker. So anytime, I definitely don't want to revisit the Le'Veon Bell situation where I thought he was going to ball out and he sat out. So anytime a running back's super unhappy before camp and there's no solution and the numbers are off, it's somebody I'm going to be hesitant with. And then next we got Jonathan Taylor, a really good back, had some lingering ankle injuries, and as somebody who deals with that myself, obviously not to the level of him, it's just something that's problematic. With the full offseason, I think he can be back to full shape, but we shall see on that. They got a big question mark at quarterback. They're obviously going to need to run it with younger guys under center, so we shall see. And surprisingly, all the way at number 6, we got Bijan Robinson, which Atlanta's going to pound the ball. Last year, they haven't really respected rushing games. I think they're definitely going to, give him at least 30 touches. Like, he's going to be on some McCaffrey shits where he gets, a bunch of bubble passes, try to get him on some routes, mismatches, a few screens, so I could definitely see him, and he's also the highest paid running back, surprisingly, so I think Atlanta's going to really try to utilize all his attributes and, get him featured in every situation possible. Number 7, we got Jamar Chase, super savage, he always does really, really well. He's good at getting in the end zone, yards after catch. Similar to Jefferson, who was his teammate in college, they're both big ballers, so guys you don't want to leave on the island because they'll make you pay for it. Next, we got one of my all-time favorites, Travis Kelce. He's done me good every single year, and he's somebody who, any opportunity I have to get him, I'm definitely going to go. There's about 3 to 4 tight ends that are legit studs, and after that, it gets kind of shaky. But with this year's draft, they were really, really hammering that, this next crop of tight ends are really going to be built for guys. So we'll see what their production is. And tight ends is another position that is grossly underpaid as far as their production in the blocking game and the rushing game. It's like having a mid-level tackle with the ability of a wide receiver. So hopefully they're another group that can get paid, but honestly, I think the market's going to take a crazy decline due to the quarterback demanding so much. So I think the players are really going to have to group together, or the quarterbacks are going to have to give up some of their earnings to make sure the team can stay intact. Next, we got Derrick Henry, who always will have a few weeks that will blow your fucking mind. Sometimes he'll go for 20 carries for 50 yards, maybe get in the end zone, but on occasion he's going to have a 200-yard gain, 3 tugs, and, going to be an absolute problem. So I wouldn't have any problem with anybody reaching for Derrick Henry at 9. And at number 10, we got Cooper Kupp, who I would not take him in the first round. And the reason being, he has had a couple of complete seasons as far as no injuries, but he seems to be a guy who will potentially get a few injuries here and there. And excuse me if I'm mistaken, but that's kind of my recollection on that. I believe last year he was out a couple of games, or just kind of playing at not 100%. But with their O-line and quarterback situation, I'm very clear of him. I don't think that's a player I would take at a spot, even though he has extreme value as a receiver. I just don't really see him going with a few guys who will have a mind at that spot. And then rounding this list off, I'm just going to stop at 14 here pretty soon. So we got Saquon, who is unhappy as fuck. He's voiced that he is not going to play, or potentially not play, if he's not properly compensated, which it's really tricky because he's at lead as a good team. Quick feet, strong as fuck, can catch really good. He's a guy who, on a fantasy team, he's going to be right. He's had some injuries throughout his career. And last year was kind of the first time he's been able to put it all together and show what his ceiling is. But if you're the Giants feel like they didn't even play really good last year, we got to see a little bit more. So they hit him with the franchise tag, which I'm not a fan of, but it's just really hard to kind of pay a guy his value whenever injuries play a big role in his production as well. Next, we got Tony Pollard, who, last year was crushing it. Another guy who's in the franchise tag, and he's coming off of an injury as well. I think he's going to be, I don't know, he had a really good season last year, but I'd like to see another year of him being the featured back. He got the majority of the carries, but there was still Zeke to kind of come in those short yard situations. The guy who, whenever you're playing against a stout of punching defense, you have a thicker body that can, withstand the blows. So hopefully he has a healthy season, and I'm interested to see how his production goes. Tyreek Hill, a person who I definitely would take over, a Cooper Cup at that spot. He's, projecting, or he's telling everybody he looks to have 2,000 yards this season, which I think he very well could. Like, he's a guy who one missed tackle, you might as well just go ahead and call it quits because he's playing with end zone. So I think Tyreek at that spot, maybe even higher, would be a really valuable play. And last but not least for tonight is going to be Josh Jacobs, who I think I probably wouldn't take him there. Like, I would, yeah. And with him being in a contract year, first round would be really, really hard. Like, I fucked up, and it haunts me every day that I didn't trade for Josh Jacobs whenever I could have traded David Montgomery. They were, at the time of the trade proposal, I was like, they're both putting up equal numbers. It's no point in trading, that's just kind of moving laterally. And I was like, man, I wasn't feeling it. And come to find out, Tucker's going to be the leading rusher in the league. So, just me not really feeling that trade just kind of cost me a potential trophy. So, that's something I got to work on is, looking further ahead instead of just the immediate wins in the moment. But yeah, that's breaking down our fantasy draft. Hopefully you guys are able to get all the details and news as the season goes along. I'll try to keep everyone updated, and hopefully I'll have some of the members of the league in on a weekly basis. But aside of that, man, y'all be safe. Peace. Watch the throne.